Hello, and welcome to Day by Day True Crime Stories, the podcast where we explore a different crime or justice milestone from this day in history. I'm your host, Kona Gallagher, and today is March 17th. On this day in 1996, the glitzy, outrageous world of New York City's club scene was rocked by a shocking and brutal crime: the murder of Andre Angel Melendez. What at first seemed like a mysterious disappearance soon turned into one of the most gruesome murder cases in the city's history. This crime not only marked the end of a young man's life, but also marked the downfall of the infamous club kids, a subculture known for its wild parties, drug-fueled excess, and flamboyant nightlife. At the center of this tragedy was Michael Alig, the self-proclaimed king of the club kids, a man who had built an empire on outrageous parties and underground fame. But behind the glitter and excess was a world spiraling out of control, fueled by drugs, crime, and violence. Today, we're diving into Angel Melendez's life, the rise and fall of the club kids, and the lasting impact of this infamous case. Let's get started. Andre Angel Melendez was charismatic and ambitious. Born on May 1st, 1971 in Colombia, he and his family immigrated to New York when he was just 8 years old in the hopes of finding better opportunities. Growing up, Angel found himself drawn to the vibrant energy of New York City. By his early 20s, he had become a familiar face in the underground club scene. He was known for his distinctive look, large feathered angel wings strapped to his back. Angel was more than just a club-goer, though. He was involved in the business side of nightlife. He allegedly worked as a drug dealer within the club circuit, making connections with club owners, party promoters, and influencers within the scene. This is what put him in close contact with Michael Alig, the ringleader of the club kids. But Angel's association with Alig wasn't exactly easygoing. He had supplied Alig with drugs, and at the time of his murder, Alig owed Angel money. Their relationship went from friendship to animosity, and soon Angel would pay the ultimate price. To understand the world that Angel was living in, we have to talk about the club kids, a group that took New York nightlife by storm in the 1980s and early 1990s. The club kids were known for their outrageous fashion, their bold, theatrical personas, and their anything-goes approach to partying. They weren't just club-goers, they were celebrities of the underground, transforming themselves into these larger-than-life characters. Leading the scene was Michael Alig, a small-town kid from South Bend, Indiana, who arrived in NYC with big dreams and even bigger ambitions. He became one of the city's most notorious club promoters, organizing some of the wildest, most talked about parties in the industry. But the club kids weren't just famous within the clubs. They made TV appearances, appearing on talk shows such as Geraldo and The Joan Rivers Show, bringing their bizarre, outlandish aesthetic into the national spotlight. But while the world saw them as fashion-forward rebels, there was a darker side beneath all the glitter. Behind the fame, the club kids' world was fueled by drug use and growing tension. And Michael Alig, who had once been the golden boy of NYC nightlife, was now spiraling out of control. By March 1996, the tension between Michael Alig and Angel Melendez had reached a breaking point. Angel was growing frustrated with Alig, not just because of the unpaid debts, but because the club scene itself was becoming increasingly unstable. On March 17, 1996, Angel confronted Michael Alig and Robert Freeze Riggs in their apartment at Riverbank West, a high-rise building on West 43rd Street in Manhattan. The argument started over the drug debt. Angel had allegedly supplied drugs to Alig on credit, and now he wanted his money. But the confrontation quickly turned violent. According to Riggs's later confession, the fight escalated rapidly. In a drug-fueled panic, Riggs grabbed a hammer and struck Angel multiple times in the head. But even after these brutal blows, Angel was still alive and still tried to fight off his attackers. In a desperate attempt to silence him, Alig suffocated Angel until he stopped breathing. Angel was dead, but what happened next was even more terrifying. Realizing that they had just committed murder, Alig and Riggs panicked. Their solution? Keep Angel's body in the bathtub, cover it with ice, and pretend like nothing ever happened. For days, the body remained in the apartment, all while Alig continued partying. But as the stench of decomposition grew stronger, they knew they had to get rid of the evidence. They bought knives and a cleaver from Macy's, dismembered Angel's body and stuffed it into garbage bags and threw the remains into the Hudson River. And then they went back to partying. For months, the club scene buzzed with rumors about Angel's disappearance. But incredibly, Michael Alig himself started bragging about the murder. But people didn't believe him. They thought he was either joking or was just trying to get attention with his drug-fueled ramblings. But as the details became too specific to ignore, some began to suspect the truth. Journalist Michael Musto, writing for the Village Voice, played a pivotal role in bringing attention to the rumors. In April 1996, he published a blind item hinting at Alig's involvement in a club kid's disappearance. Although he didn't name names, the details were unmistakable to those who were in the scene. That article marked the beginning of the public scrutiny into Angel's whereabouts. Soon after, a box containing a human torso washed ashore on Staten Island. The remains went unidentified for several months, but suspicions arose that it could be Angel. It wasn't until November 1996 that dental records confirmed the body's identity as Angel Melendez. Police immediately zeroed in on Alig and Riggs, and on December 5th, 1996, they were arrested and both confessed to the killing. Both men took plea deals, and on October 1st, 1997, they pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter and were sentenced to 10 to 20 years in prison. Riggs was released on parole in 2010, and Alig was released in 2014. The murder of Angel Melendez started the decline of the club kids' reign over New York City's nightlife. The hedonistic subculture that once epitomized youthful rebellion and creativity became synonymous with tragedy and moral decay. In the years following his release, Michael Alig attempted to reintegrate into society, engaging in artistic endeavors and media projects. However, his past ended up catching up with him. On December 24th, 2020, Alig was found in his Manhattan apartment, dead from an apparent heroin overdose. He was 54. If this case seems familiar to you, it's probably because the story of Angel Melendez and the club kids has been immortalized in various forms of media, including books, documentaries, and the 2003 film Party Monster, starring Macaulay Culkin as Michael Alig and Wilson Cruz as Angel Melendez. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Day by Day True Crime Stories. If you found this story compelling, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And be sure to join me again tomorrow as we explore another significant event in true crime history. Until then, stay safe and remember that behind every headline is a life worth remembering. Day by Day True Crime Stories is a Little Monster production.
Hey, you can do it!